Today I'm going to read a book as a Man Thinketh, written by James Allen. Whatever you can do or dream, you can. Begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the lord of his own thought, man holds the key to every situation and contains within himself that transforming and generative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. Mind is the master power that molds and makes a man his mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought and shaping what he wills, bring forth 1,000 joy, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. Thought and character. The aphorisms, as a man thinketh is his heart, so is he not only embrace the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every act of a man springs from the hidden seeds of thoughts and could not have appeared without them. His, this applies equally to those acts called spontaneous and unpremeditated as to those which are deliberately executed. Act is the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus, does a man gardener in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. Thoughts in the mind hath made us what we are, but by thoughts was wrought and built. If a man's mind hath evil thoughts, pain comes on him as comes the wheel, the ox. If one endure impurity of thoughts, joy flows him as his own shadow. Sure, man is a growth by law and not creation by artifice, and cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thoughts as in the world of visible and material things. A noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or a chance, but is the natural result of continued effort in right thinking, the effect of long cherished association with godlike thought. As ignoble and bestial character, by the same process, is the result of continued harboring of groveling thoughts. You are the master of your fate. Man is made or unmade by himself in the armory of thoughts. He forges the weapon by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he descends below the level of the beast. Between these two extremes are all the grades of character, and man is their maker and master. Of all the beautiful truth pertaining to the soul, which have been restored and brought to light in this age. None is more gladdening or fruitful of divine promise and confident than this, that man is the master of thought, the modular, the modeler, molder, molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the lord of his own thought, man holds a key to every situation and contains within himself that transforming and regenerative agency which he may make himself what he wills. Man is always the master, even in his weaker and most abundant state. But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his condition and to search delightly, diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master, directing his energies with the intelligence and fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues. Such is the conscious master, and man can only this become by discovering within himself the law of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self analysis, and experiences. Seek and you shall find. Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained, and man can find every truth connected with his being. If he will dig deep into the mine of his soul, and he is the maker of his character, the modeler of his life, and the builder of his destiny, he may underlying prove, if he will watch, control, and alter his thoughts, tracing their effects upon himself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, and utilizing his every experience, even to the most trivial everyday occurrence, as a means of obtaining that knowledge of himself, which is understanding, wisdom, power. In this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute that he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh is shall be opened. For only by patient practice and ceaseless importunity can a man enter the door of the temple of knowledge. Effect of thoughts and on circumstances. The human will, that force unseen, the offspring of deathless soul, can heave a way to any goal, though walls of granite intervene. Man's mind may be linked to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruit which he requires so much, so may a man tend to garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impure thoughts, and cultivating towards perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul, the director of his life, He also reveals within himself the law of thoughts and understands with ever increasing accuracy how the thought forces and mind elements operate in the shaping of his character, circumstance, and destiny. Thought and character are one, and as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance. The outer condition of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state. This doesn't mean that man's circumstance at any given time are indication of his entire character, but that those circumstances are so intimately connected with some vital thought element within himself that for the time being they are in indispensable to his development. Every man is where he is by the law of his being. The thoughts which he has built into his character have brought him there. And in the arrangement of his life, there is no element of chance, but all is the result of law which can't err. This is just as true of those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as of those who are contented with them. Circumstances grow out of thoughts. As a progressive and evolving being, man is where he is that he may learn, that he may grow, and as he learns the spiritual lesson which any circumstance contains for him, it passes away and gives place to other circumstances. Man is buffeted by circumstance so long as he believes himself to be creature of outside condition. But when he realizes that his creative power and that he may command the hidden soil and seeds of his being out of which circumstances grow, he then became the rightful master of himself. The circumstances grow out of the thought every man knows who has for any length of time practiced self control and self purification. For he will have noticed that the alteration in his circumstances. He been in exact ratio with his altered mental condition. So true is that when a man earnestly applies himself to remedy and defects in his character and makes shift and marked progress, the passes rapidly through a succession and vicissitude. The soul attracts that which is secretly harbors that which it loves and also that which it fears. It reaches the height of its cherished aspiration. It falls to the level of its unchastened desires and circumstances or the means by which the soul receives its own. Every thought, seed, zone are allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there, produces its own blossoming sooner or later into act, and bearing its own fruitage of opportunity and circumstances. Good thought bear good fruit, bad thoughts bad fruit. The outer world of circumstances shapes itself to the inner world of thought, and both pleasant and unpleasant external conditions are factors which make for the ultimate good for individual. As the reaper of his own harvest, man learns both by suffering and bliss, following uh, the inmost desires, aspiration, thoughts by which he allows himself to be dominator, pursuing will, oh, the wisp of impure imaginings, or steadfastly walking the highway of strong high endeavors. A man at least arrives at their fruition and fulfillment in the outer condition of his life. The law of growth and adjustment everywhere obtains. Justice is exact. A man does not come to the almshouse or almshouse or the jail by the tyranny of fate or a circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desire. Nor does a pure minded man fall suddenly into crime by stress of any mere external force. The criminal thought hold long been secretly fostered in the heart, and the hour of opportunity revealed its gathered power. Circumstances does not make the man, it reveals him to himself. No such a condition can exist as descending into vice and its attendant sufferings apart from vicious inclinations, or ascending into virtue and its pure happiness without the continued cultivation of virtuous aspiration. And man, therefore, as the Lord and master of thought, is the maker of himself, the shaper and the author of environment. Even at the birth, the soul comes into its own, and through every step of its earthly pilgrimage, it attract those combination of condition which reveal itself, which are the reflection of its own purity and impurities, its strength and weakness. Men do not attract what which they want, but that which they are. Their whims, fancies, and ambitions are thwarted at every step, but their inmost thoughts and desires are fed with their own food, be it full or clean. The divinity that shape our ends in this ourself, it is our very self. Only himself manacles man. Thought and actions are the gaolers of fate. They imprison being base. They are also the angels of freedom. They liberate, being noble. Not what he wishes and prays for does a man get, but what he justly earns. His wishes and prayers are only gratified and answered when they harmonious harmonious with his thoughts and action. In the light of this truth, what then is the meaning of fighting against circumstances? It means that a man is continually revolting against an effect without, while all the time he is nourishing and preserving its cause in his heart. That cause may take form of conscious vice or unconscious weakness, but whatever it is, it stubbornly retarded the efforts of its possessor, and thus calls aloud for remedy. Three example of ignorance. Men are anxious to improve their circumstance, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. The man who does not shrink from self crucifixion can never fail to accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. This is the this is as true of earthly as of a heavenly thing. Even the man whose sole object is to acquire wealth must be prepared to make great personal sacrifices before he can accomplish his object, and how much more so who would realize a strong and well poised life. Here is a man who is richly poor. He is extremely anxious that his surroundings and home comforts should be improved. Yet all the time he shrinks his work and consider he is justified in trying to deceive his employer on the ground of the insufficiency of his wage. Such a man does not understand the simplest rudiments of those principles which are the basis of true prosperity, and is not only totally unfitted to rise out of his wretchedness, but it's actually attracting to him for still deeper wretchedness by dwelling in and acting out indolent, deceptive, and unmanly thoughts. Here is a rich man who is a victim of painful and persistent disease as the result of gluttony. He is willing to give large sums of money to get rid of it, but he will not sacrifice his gluttonous desires. He wants to gratify his taste of rich and unnatural viands, and have his health as well. Such a man is totally unfit to have health because he has not yet learned the first principles of healthy life. He is an employer of labor who adopts crooked measures to avoid paying the regulations wage, and in the hope of making large profit reduces the wage of his works people. Such a man is altogether unfitted for prosperity, and when he finds himself bankrupt both as regards reputations and riches, he blames circumstances, not knowing that he is the sole author of his condition. I have introduced this three cases merely as illustrative of the truth that man is the causer, though nearly always is unconsciously, of his circumstances, and that whilst aiming at a good end, he is continually frustrating his accomplishment by encouraging thoughts and desires which can't possibly harmonize with that end. Such case could be multiplied and varied almost indefinitely, but this is not necessary, as the reader can, if he so resolve, trace the action of the law of thoughts in his own mind and life. And until this is done, mere external fact can't serve as good as ground of reasoning. Good cannot produce evil. Circumstances, however, are so complicated, thought is so deeply rooted, and the condition of happiness varies so vastly with individuals. What a man's entire soul condition, although it may be known to himself, cannot be judged by another from the external aspects of his life alone. A man may be honest in certain directions, yet suffer privations. A man may be dishonest in certain direction, yet acquire wealth. But the conclusion usually formed that the one man fails because of his particular honesty, and that the other prosper because of his particular dishonesty, is the result of superficial judgment, which assumes that the dishonest man is almost totally corrupt, and the honest man almost entirely virtuous. In the light of deeper knowledge and wider experience, such judgment is found to be erroneous. The dishonest man may have some admirable virtue which the other does not possess, and the honest man obnoxious vices which are absent in the other. The honest man reaps the good result of his honest thought and act. he also brings upon himself the sufferings which his vice produce. The dishonest man likewise garner his own suffering and happiness. It is pleasing to human vanity to believe that one suffers because of one virtue, but not until a man has extirpated every sickly, bitter, and impure thought from his mind, and washed every sinful stain from his soul. Can he be in a position to know and declare that his sufferings are the result of his good and not of his bad qualities, and on the way to yet long before he has reached that supreme perfection he will have found working in his mind and life, the great law which is absolutely just and which can't therefore give good for evil, evil for good, possessed of such knowledge, he will then now, looking back upon his past ignorance and blindness, that his life is and always was justly ordered, and that is that all his past experiences, good and bad, were the equitable outworking of his evolving yet unevolved self. You are what you think. Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad result. Bad thoughts and action can never produce good results. This is but saying that nothing can come from corn but corn, nothing from nestle but nestles. Men understand this law in the natural world and work with it, but few understand in it the mental and moral world, though its operations that is just as simple and underweighting, and they therefore do not cooperate with it. Suffering is always the effect of wrong thought in some direction. This is an indication that the individual is out of harmony with himself, with law of his being. The sole and the supreme use of suffering is to purify, to burn out all that is useless and impure. Suffering ceases for him who is pure. There could be no object in burning gold after the dross had been removed, and perfectly pure and enlightened being could not suffer. The circumstances which a man encounters with suffering are the result of his own mental inharmony. The circumstances which a man encounters with blessedness and the result of his own mental harmony. Blessedness, not material possessions. In the measure of right thought, richness, not lack of material possession. In the measure of wrong thought, a man may be cursed and rich, he may be blessed and poor. Blessedness and blessedness and riches are only joined together when the riches are rightly and wisely used, and the poor man only descends into richness, which when he regards his lot as a burden unjustly imposed. Indigence and indulgence are the two extreme of richness. Are they both equally unnatural and the result of mental disorder? A man is not rightly conditioned until he is happy, healthy, and prosperous being, and happiness, health, and prosperity as the result of harmonious adjustment of inner with the outer, of a man with his surroundings. Discover the hidden powers within. A man only begin to be a man when he ceases to whine and revile, and commences to search for the hidden justice which regulates his life, and as he adapts his mind to that regulating factor. He ceases to accuse others as the cause of his condition and builds himself up in strong and noble thoughts, cease of kick against circumstances, but begin to use them as aids to his more rapid progress. And a man, as a means of discovering the hidden powers and possibilities within himself. Law, not confusion, is the dominating principle in the universe. Justice and not uh, injustice is the soul and substances of life. The righteousness, not corruption, is the modeling and moving force in the spiritual government of the world. This being so, man has but to right himself to find that the universe is right, and during the process of putting himself right, he will find that as he alter his thought towards things and other people, things and other people will alter towards him. The proof of this truth is every person and in therefore admits of easy investigation by systematic introspection and self analysis. Let a man radically alter his thoughts, and he will be astonished at the rapid transformation he will effect in the material conditions of his life. The aftermath of corrupt thoughts. Men imagine that thoughts can be kept a secret, but it can't. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstances. Bestial thoughts crystallize into habit of drunkenness and sensuality, which solidity into circumstances of destitutions and disease. Impure thoughts of every kind crystallizes into enervating and confusion habit, which solidify into distracting and adverse circumstances. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and indecision crystallize into weak, in unmanly, and irres- irresolute habit, which solidify into circumstances of failure, indigence, and slavish dependence. Lazy thoughts crystallize into habits of uncleanliness and dishonesty, which solidify into circumstances of foolness and beggary. Hateful and contemporary thoughts. Contempt- Contemporary thoughts crystallize into habit and acquisition of violence, which sol- solidify into circumstances of injury and persecution. Selfish thoughts of all kinds of crystallize into habits of self seeking, which solidify into circumstances more or less distressing. The aftermath of beautiful thoughts. On the other hand, beautiful thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of grace and kindliness, which solidify into genial and sunny circumstances. Pure thoughts crystallize into habit of temperance and self-control, which solidify into circumstances of response and peace. Thoughts of courage and self reliance and decision crystallize into many mainly habit, which solidify into circumstances of success, plenty, and freedom. Energetic thoughts crystallize into habit of cleanliness and industry, which solidify into circumstance of pleasantness. Gentle and forgiving thought crystallize into habit of gentleness, which solidify into productive and persuading circumstances. Loving and unselfish thoughts crystallize into habits of self-forgetfulness for others, which solidify into circumstances of sure, abiding prosperity and true riches. Thoughts shape your circumstance. Particular train of thoughts persisted in, be it good or bad, can't fail to produce its result on the character of circumstance. A man can't directly choose his circumstance, but he can choose his thought, and so indirectly yet surely shape his circumstance. Nature helps every man to the gratification of the thoughts which he most encourage, and opportunities are presented which will most speedily bring to the surface both the good and evil thoughts. Let a man cease from his sinful thoughts, and all the world will soften towards him and be ready to help him. Let him put away his weakly and sickly thoughts, and low opportunity will bring upon every hand to aid his strong resolves. Let him encourage good thoughts, and no hard fate shall bind him down to richness and shame. The world is your kaleidoscope, and the varying combination of colors which at every succeeding moment it present to you. You are the exhaustively adjusted pictures of your ever moving thoughts. So you will be what you will be, what you will to be. Let failure find its false content in the poor word environment, but spirit scorns it and free. It masters time, it conquers space, it cows the boastful tricker's chance, and bids the tyrant circumstance unground and fill a servant's place. The human will, that force unseen, and the offspring of deathless soul, can heave a way to any goal, though walls of granite intervene. Be not impatient in delay, but wait as one who understands when spring rises and commands. The gods are ready to obey. Effect of thoughts on health and body. The body is a delicate and plastic instrument which responds readily to the thoughts by which it is impressed, and habit of thought will produce their own effect, good or bad, upon it. The body is the servant of the mind. It obeys the operation of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically expressed at the bidding of unlawful thoughts, and body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. At the command of glad and beautiful thought, it becomes clothed with youthfulness and beauty. Disease and health, like circumstance, are rooted in thought. Sickly thought will express themselves through a sickly body. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill a man as speedily as a bullet. They are continually killing thousands of people, just as surely, though less rapidly, the people who live in fear of disease or the people who get it. Anxiety quickly demoralizes the whole body and lays it open to the entrance of disease, while impure thoughts, even if not physically indulged, will soon shatter the nervous system. Strong and pure happy thoughts build up the body in a vigor and grace. Body is a delicate and plastic instrument which responds readily to the thoughts by which it is impressed, and habit of thought will produce their own effect, good or bad, upon it. Men will continue to have impure and poisoned blood so long as they propagate unclean thought. Out of a clean heart comes a clean life and clean body. Out of a defined mind proceeds a defined life and a corrupt body. Thought is the fount of action, life, and manifestation. Make the fountain pure, and all will be pure. Change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thought. When a man make his thought pure, no one longer desires impure food. Clean thoughts make clean habit, and the so-called saint who does not wash his body is not a saint. He who has strengthened and purified his thought does not need to consider the malevolent, microbe. Your mind determines your health. If you would protect your body, guard your mind. If you would renew your body, beauty your mind. Thoughts of malice, envy, disappointment, despondency rub the body of its health and grace. A sore face does not come by chance. It made by sore thoughts. Wrinkles that mar are drawn by folly, passion, and pride. I know a woman of 96 who has the bright, innocent face of a girl. I know a man well under middle age whose face is drawn into inharmonious com- contrasts. The one is the result of sweet and sunny dispositions, the other is the outcome of passion and discontent. As you can't have a sweet and wholesome abode unless you admit the air and sunshine freely into your room. So, a strong body and a bright, happy, or a serene countenance can only result from the free admittance into the mind of thoughts of joy and goodwill and serenity. On the face of the aged, there are wrinkles made by sympathy, others by strong and pure thought, and other are curved by passion. Who can't distinguish them? With those who have lived righteously, age is calm, peaceful, softy, mellowed like the setting sun. I have recently seen a philosopher on his deathbed. He was not old, expect in year. He died as sweetly and peacefully as he had lived. There is no physician like a cheerful thought for dissipating the ills of the body. There is no confront to compare with goodwill for dispersing and the shadow of grief and sorrow. To live continually in thoughts of ill will, cynicism, suspicion, and envy. To be confined in self-made breeze on hold, but to think well of all, to be cheerful with all, to patiently learn to find the good in all. Such unselfish thoughts are the very portal of heaven, and to dwell day by day in thoughts of peace toward every creature will bring abounding peace to their possessors. possessors. Thought and purpose. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such a drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear a catastrophe and destruction. They who have no central purpose in their life, fall an easy prey to petty worries, fear, troubles, and self-pitying, all of which are indication of weakness, which lead just as surely as elaborately planned since, though by a different route to failure and happiness and loss for weakness, can't persist in a power evolving universe. A man should conceive legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose of a centralizing point of his thought. It may take the form of spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time being. But whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. He should make this purpose his supreme duty and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thought to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longing and imagining. This is the royal road to self control and true concentration of thought. Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome, the strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for further future power and triumph. Those who are not prepared for the apprehensive of great purpose should fix the thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thought be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. Strength grow with purpose. The weakest soul, knowing its own weakness and believing this truth that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, will this believing at once begin to exert itself, and adding effort to effort, patience to patience, and strength to strength, will never cease to develop and will at last grow divinely strong. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient um, training, so the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in right thinking. To put away aimlessness and weakness and to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong one who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment, who make all conditions serve them, and who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully. Having conceived of his purpose, a man should mentally mark out a straight pathway to its achievement, looking neither to the right nor the left. Doubts and fear should be um, rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked, ineffectual, useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplished anything and never can. They always lead to failure. Purpose, energy, power to do. And all strong thoughts cease when doubt and fear grip in. The will to do spring from the knowledge that we can do. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of knowledge, and he who encourages them, who does not slay them, throughout himself at every step. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purpose are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit, which does not fall prematurely to the ground. Thought allied fearlessly to purpose became creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and strong than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become The conscious and intelligent wi- welder, welder of his mental power. The thought factor in achievement. All achievement, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought, are governed by the same law and or uh, or of the some method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. The thought factor in achievement. All that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thoughts. In justly ordered universe where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurities are his own and not another man's. They are brought about by himself and not by another, and they can only be altered by himself, never be another. His condition is also his own and not another's man. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. As he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. A strong man can't help a weaker unless that weaker is willing to be helped, and even the weak man must become strong of himself. He must, by his own effort, develop strength which he admire in another. None but himself can alter his condition. It has been usual for a man to think and to say, many men are slaves because no one is oppossessor. Let us hate the oppossessor. Now, however, there is among us an increasing few tendency to reverse this judgment and to say, no man is an oppossessor because many are slaves. Let us despise the slaves. The truth is that oppressor, oppressor, oppressor and slave or cooperator in ignorance, and while seeming to afflict each other, are in reality afflicting themselves. A perfect knowledge perceives the action of law in the weakness of the oppressed and the misapplied power of the oppressor. A perfect love, seeing the suffering which both state entail, condemn neither. A perfect compassion embraces both oppressor and oppressed. He who has conquered weakness and has put away all selfish thought belong neither to oppressor nor oppressed. He is free. A man can only rise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up his thoughts. He can only remain weak and abject and miserable by refusing to lift up these thoughts. There is no progress without sacrifice. Before a man can achieve anything, even in worldly things, he must lift his thoughts above slavish animal indulgence. He may not, in order to succeed, give up all animality and selfishness by any means, but a portion of it must at least be sacrificed. A man whose first thought is bestial indulgence could neither think clearly nor plan um, methodically. He could not find and develop his talent, resource, and would fail in any undertaking. Not having commenced to manfully control his thoughts, he is not in position to control affairs and to adopt serious responsibility. He is not fit to act independently and stand alone, but he is limited only by thoughts which he chooses. There can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice, and a man's worldly success will be in the measure that he sacrifices his confused animal thought and fixed his mind on the development of his plans and the strengthening of his resolution and self reliance. And the higher he lived his thought, the more manly, upright, and righteous he becomes. The greater will be his success, the more blessed and enduring will be his achievements. The universe does not favor the greedy, the dishonest, and vicious, although on the mere surface it may sometimes appear to do so. He'd help the honest and magn- magnanimous and virtuous. All the great teachers of the ages have declared this in varying forms, and to prove and know it, a man has put to persist in making himself more and more virtuous by lifting up his thought. You rise or fall by your thought. Intellectual achievement or the result of thought consecrated to the search for knowledge or for the beautiful and true in life and nature. Such achievements may be sometimes connected with vanity and ambition, but they are not the outcome of those characteristics. They are not. They are the natural outgrowth of long and arduous effort and pure and unselfish thought. Spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations. He who lives constantly in the conception of noble and lofty thought, who dwells upon all that is pure and unselfish, will, as surely as the sun reaches its zenith and the moon its full, became wise and noble in character, and rise into a position of influence and blessedness. Achievement of whatever kind is the grown of effort and diadem of thought. By the aid of self control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well directed thought, a man ascends. By the aid of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, and confusion of thought, a man descends. A man may rise to high success in the world and even to lofty altitudes in the spiritual realm, and gain descent into weakness and wretchedness by allowing arrogant, selfish, and corrupt thought to take possession of him. Victory is attained by right thought, can only be maintained by watchfulness. Many give way when success is assured and rapidly fall back into failure. All achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought, or governed by the same law and or of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. He who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would achieve much must sacrifice much. He who would attain highly must sacrifice greatly. Visions and ideals. He who cherishes a beautiful vision, a lofty ideal in the heart, will one day realize it. Dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. The dreamer or the savior of the world, as the visible world is sustained by the invisible, so men, through all their trial and sins and sordid vacations, are nourished by the beautiful vision of their solitary dreamer. Humanity can't forget its dreamers. It can't let their ideal fade and die. It lives in them. It knows them as their realities, which it shall one day see and no. Composer, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, sage, these are the makers of the after world, the architect of heaven. The world is beautiful because they have lived. Without them, laboring humanity would perish. He who cherishes a beautiful vision or lofty ideal in his heart will one day realize it. Columbus cherished the vision of another world and he discovered it. Copernicus fostered the vision of a multiplicity of worlds and wider universe, and he revealed it. Buddha beheld the vision of spiritual world of stainless beauty and perfect peace, and he entered into it. Cherish your visions, cherish your ideal, cherish the music that stirs in your heart, and the beauty that form in your mind, the loveliness that drapes your purest thought. For out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environment of this. If you put remain true to them, your world will at last be built. To desire it, to obtain, to aspire is to achieve shall man's basest desire receives the fullest measure of gratification, and his purest aspirations starve for lack of sustain, um, sustenance. Such is not the law. Such a condition of things can never obtain. Ask and receive. Dream lofty dreams, and you, as you dream, so shall you become. Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. Dreams beget realities. The greatest achievement was at first and for a time a dream. The oak sheaves in the acorn, the bird waits in the egg, and in the highest vision of soul, a walking angel stares. Dreams are the seedling of realities. Your circumstances may ungo- ungonial, but they shall not long remain so. If you but perceive an ideal and strive to reach it, you can't travel within and stand still without. Here is a youth hard passed by poverty and labor, convinced long hour in a unhealthy worship, unschooled and lacking all the art of refinement. But he dreams of better thing. He thinks of intelligence, of refinement, of grace and beauty. He conceives a mentally build up an ideal condition of life. The vision of wider liberty and larger scope take possession of him. Unrest urge him to action, and he utilizes all his spare time and means, small though they are, to the development his talent, power, and resources. Very soon, so altered has he mind became that that the workshop can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life as government is cast aside. And with the growth of opportunities which fit the scope of his expanding power, he passes out of it forever. Years later, we see this youth as full grown man. We find him as a master of certain forces of the mind, which he wild with worldwide influences and almost unequaled power. In his hands, he holds the god of gigantic responsibilities. He speaks and law lives the changed. Men and women hang up his words and removed their characters and sun like. He becomes the fixed and luminous center round which innumerable innumerable destinies resolved. He has realized the vision of his youth. He has become one with his ideal, and you, too youthful reader, will realize the vision, not the ideal wish of your heart, be it base or beautiful or a mixture of both. For you will always gravitate toward that which you secretly most love. Into your hand will be placed the exact result of your own thought. You will receive that which you earn, no more, no less. Whatever your present environment may be, you will fall, refine, or rise with your thoughts, your vision, your ideal. You will become as small as your controlling desire, as great as your dominant aspiration. When the student is ready, the master will appear. In the beautiful world of Stanton Gircom Davis, you may be keeping accounts, and presently you shall walk out the door that for so long has seemed to you barrier of your ideas, and shall find yourself before an audience, the pen still behind your ear, the ink strains on your finger, and there shall pour out torrent of your inspiration. You may be driving sheep, and you shall wander to the city, bucolic and open mouthed, shall wander under the intrepid guidance of spirit into the studio of the master. And after a time he shall say, I have nothing more to teach you, and now you have become master. Who did so recently dream of great thing while driving sheep? You shall lay down the saw, the plane, to take upon yourself the regeneration of the world. There is no such thing as luck. The thoughtless, the ignorant and indolent seeking only appeared effect of things, and not the things themselves. Talk of luck, of fortune and chance. Seeing a man grow rich, they say, how lucky he is. Observing another became intellectual, they exclaim, how highly favored he is. And noting the saintly character and wide influence of another, they remark how chance aids him at every turn. They do not see the trial and failure and struggle which these men have voluntarily encountered in order to gain their experience, have no knowledge of the sacrifices they have made, of the undone effort they have put forth, of the fight they have exercised, that they might overcome the apparently insurmountable, and realize the vision of their heart. They do not know the darkness and the heart attacks, they only see the light and joy, and call it luck. They do not see the long and arduous journey, but only behold the pleasant goal, and call it good fortune. Do not understand the process, but only perceive the result, and call it chance. In all human affairs, there are efforts and there are results, and the strength of the effort is measure of the result. Chance is not. Gift, powers, material, intellectual, spiritual possessions are the fruits of effort. They are thought completed, object accomplished, visions realized. The vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this you will build your life by. This you will become serenity. The more tranquil a man becomes, the greater is is his success, his influence, his power of good, power for good. The strong, calm man is always loved and revered. Calmness of mind is the one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort in self control. It presents in an indication of abundant experience and of more than ordinary knowledge of the law and operations of thought. A man became calm in the measure that he understand himself as the thought evolved being. For such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as the result of thought. And as he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relations of thing by the action of cause and effect, he ceases fuse and fume and worry and grieve and remains poised, steadfast serene. The calm man, having learned how to govern himself, knows how to adapt himself to others, and they, in turn, reverence his spiritual strength and feel that they can learn of him and rely upon him. The more tranquil a man became, the greater is his success, his influence, his power for good. Even the ordinary trader will find his business prosperity increase as he develops a greater self control and equanimity. For purpose will always prefer to lead with a man whose demon is strongly equable. The strong, calm man is always loved and revered. He's like a shade, giving tree, thirsty land, or a sheltering rock in a storm. Who does not love a tranquil heart, a sweet, tempered, balanced life? It does not matter whether it rains or shines, or what changes comes to those possession these blessings, for they are always sweet, serene, and calm. That exquisite poise of character, which we call serenity, is the last lesson of culture and the fruitage of the soul. It is precious as wisdom, more to be desired than gold, than even fine gold. How insignificant mere money seeking looks in comparison with a serene life, a life that dwell in the ocean of truth, beneath the wave, beyond the reach of tempest, in the eternal calm. Contentment is an art. How many people we know who soar their lives, who ruin all that is sweet and beautiful by explosive tempers, who destroy their poise of character and make bad blood. It is a question whether the great majority of people do not ruin their life and mar their happiness by lack of self control. How few people we meet in life who are well balanced, who have the exquisite poise which is characteristic of the finished character. Yes, humanity surges with uncontrolled passion, is tumultuous with ungoverned grief, is blown about by anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only he, those whose thoughts are controlled and purified, makes the winds and the stone of the soul obey him. Tempest tossed soul, wherever may be, under whatsoever condition a may live, no, this in the ocean of life, this isles of blessedness are smiling and sunny shore of your ideal await your coming. Keep your hand firmly upon the hem of thought. In the park of your soul, recline the commanding master. He does not sleep. Wake him. Self control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace, be still.